Hey guys, big news as you saw, Bitcoin has plunged below 8,000. This is the first time since November. I think it was November 24th actually, right? Right around Thanksgiving time. Hey Kimberly, good to see you back. Hey Rob, good to see you too. This was just a quick one I was going to do here, but 17% down in the last day, down 46% in the last month. Oh, good to see you back on here. Good, good. Yeah, it's a huge hit. Even the last day, it's been a huge hit. But yeah, the last past week has been big, big thing. Yeah, no, I think it's at 86 or 8,700. But it got down below 8,000 at one point. And as I keep checking, it's usually more around 8,600 plus. Hey, Praising Hands, good to see you back. Jen, welcome back. No, Kimberly, you can't count on it to make you rich anytime soon. Um, yeah, it's at the dip, isn't it, Rob? Hey, thanks for the retweet, Hobo Jackson. I appreciate it. It helps out a lot. And they cut off those credit card payments. Can you believe that? Bank of America and J.P. Morgan. 18% of people were buying their cryptocurrencies. Hey, hi Tyler. Thanks for the retweet, Rob. They were buying on cryptocurrencies, right? The 18% of them were buying them on credit cards, and well, that's not going to be happening anymore as the big banks are actually stopping them from doing that. Um, oh, you bought in before it dumped? Well, I think it's Rob. Thanks for inviting the followers. Tactical, welcome, welcome. Carter Boyce, welcome. Carter Boyce, how's it going? You swipe, and that's one way to retweet it. Otherwise, the three dots at the bottom, you can click on that. And you can retweet it on Twitter as well, or share it. Schizophrenics, welcome. You can share it also on Periscope as well. Hey, Praising Hands, good to see you back. Alex Day TV's back on. Welcome. Good to see you back on. Okay, so we got reason on the drop. They are saying the interest rates were going up. The interest rates are going up, and that's also the interest rates are going up because the yields are going up in the bond market. Bitcoin is tanking like BitConnect. Yeah, for sure. Bitcoin really went down a lot. Oh, okay. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, I can scope about other stuff too. Yeah, the regular hangout can really get looking out for free Wi-Fi a lot of times. Hey there. I think Bitcoin could rebound back a little bit. I think, but I mean, it could go down to 5 or 6. I think that's a possibility too. I just don't. I think you can't necessarily just try to time the cycle. So you got to have a longer term strategy. Freedom pop, yeah. Well, I mean that's part of it. Plus, I honestly like free refills on my sodas as well. I do like that. So that's one of my vices is soda, Diet Coke. So yeah, Rob, I would like to scope on some other stuff. Been around tech since '95, real estate since 2002. So there's a lot of other topics I could talk on, and I've definitely read lots of books and lots of audios, and I've also done a lot of seminars as well. But yeah, I don't know if it will hit 5K anytime soon. So there's a lot of different things I can talk about. I like the idea of long-term investing. I like the idea of cash flow. I like a lot of what Robert Kiyosaki talks about. Nanotech and AI. Okay. I haven't studied a lot of nanotech in the last year or so. Artificial intelligence is interesting. Internet of Things I find interesting. Not sure how to monetize it. I mean, I'm not. Jeff Bezos has definitely got that figured out. I've found that people who have an investor mindset, like a long-term investor mindset, seem to do pretty well long-term. Yeah, Internet of Things, IoT is really big. I remember like 3 years ago they were talking about that hitting 50 billion, 50 trillion, no, 50 billion for the kind of money it was going to make over 2020 or something like that. Yeah, real estate is definitely more tangible than the coins. Are you seeing my videos trending on Periscope right now? I know sometimes there's like 5 people that are like all going on right now, and I'm just wondering if it's showing up in the top right now. I'm curious because it's a decent amount of viewers live right now. So I've just been kind of working on that as well. There's a lot of good articles out today, for sure, but most of them revolve around the stock market as well. Yeah, the videos have been very strange on Periscope lately. I agree. Inflation, Fed's forecast. So, Johnny, the reason to increase interest rates, inflation. Yes, third one down on my screen. Okay. So my understanding is that the interest rates, they raised the interest rates because the economy feels strong, and the job report came out today on Friday with 200,000 new jobs and 180,000 were expected. So because it's so good, my understanding is that the Fed's kind of like, okay, well, here's a good opportunity to raise the rates now that we're seeing some good positive signs here. Thanks for having me, Trend. I remember back, it wasn't that long ago, Rob, where you peak at about 110, 117, and now it's at like 20. Yeah, where are the jobs? It's the question. There is an article, I think, on CNBC that tells, or maybe it's Zero Hedge. It's actually saying, break down where all the different jobs are. I just don't think they're going to be the ones that are getting replaced by tech, that's for sure. But yeah, there's definitely been a change in Periscope lately, and I've been trying to figure out what it is exactly. One thing I did notice on Google Trends is that the volatility of headlines becoming relevant, irrelevant, is a lot more volatile than I realized. And Google Trends tells you that. It shows you how they change almost hourly now. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Oh yeah, Rob, you're gonna keep your mouth shut because you've been maybe stealing all the Periscope traffic. Is that what's happening? Maybe. But yeah, one of the things I've noticed is one thing I've done. Yeah, you got. Well, here's the other thing, Rob. Is like you're you're so far down the rabbit hole now with all your parallel universe stuff and the Mandela effect and all this other stuff, Rob. That like. Who wants to talk about the stock market going down now? It's kind of boring. You're probably talking about the stock market at 60,000 in a parallel universe somewhere, the third moon from the sun. And I can't keep up with that when everybody's probably day trading stocks with like biohackable bacteria ink or something like that, and I can't compete with that. I mean, I'm just talking about boring old Earth, right? With just regular stock market ups and downs. And you're talking about like super. No, I actually do study that stuff a lot, and I thanks Hobo for being on both of them, and yeah, hi Tyler, thanks for being back on here. I don't think they're trying to trail or derail Trump's stock market. The X-Files finance reports, yeah. Because when the economy is good, risk over. See, to me, it's just the opposite of what's been happening. So when the stock market crashed, think about it. When the stock market crashed, it's like, well, what are they going to do? Quantitative easing. It's like, well, think about it. If the stock market was crashing, like, how are you going to fix that? You're just going to lower interest rates really low, right? Be like, okay, well, that'll make it come back now, right? Because of supply and demand on the credit. They're like, oh, we temporarily fixed it, except they kind of left the faucet on for like 10 years, quantitative easing. So for the last year or so, they've been like, they're starting to now do the quantitative tightening, and it's now doing the opposite of that. So because of that, yeah, they're printing the money. So because of that, it's creating this huge national debt, right? And it's like the idea is you can make the money, devalue the money so much that you can just inflate away that debt, right? But at some point, they're just like, we got to get back on budget, and this is why the government gets shut down and stuff. And it's like, well, we got to fix this problem. But fixing the problem, what caused the problem, is keeping the interest rates too low, right? And all these people are borrowing money, and then they're leveraging it. I'm not going to Super Bowl. It's like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or whatever. But I went to Mall of America on Monday and Wednesday. I live in the area, and Balance of payment crisis is looming. Yep. And the funny thing is, I was there Monday and Wednesday. I went downtown 2 of the last couple of nights. My friend said he saw Dan Marino. I don't know if he really did, but we saw some sportscasters and all that stuff. Basically, everybody's in town. But funny thing is, I didn't go to Mall of America right down the road here today, but Dr. Oz was there. Gary Vaynerchuk was there. Quite a few people were there. Jeff Gordon was over there. But yeah, a lot of people. There's a lot of sportscasters and all that stuff. Hey, Hobo Jackson, thanks for inviting people. I appreciate that as well. What else was I going to say? So I think what you're seeing now is you're seeing the complete opposite, where they're trying to. I think they're trying to let some bonds expire and some of that kind of stuff as well. MSM is stock drop on the memo release day. Yeah, the memo release day could have had something to do with it as well. For sure. It's just my understanding is that because the jobs ended up being way better than they thought, they're looking for an excuse to raise the interest rates. And when they raise the interest rates, it changes everything. I mean, it can even affect the bond market where the yields are higher. When the yields are higher, then the price of bonds goes down because people expect higher yields. Ron, corporate value is discounted future cash flow. Higher interest rates pushes the stocks down. Yeah, good point. I mean, the analogy that works well for me is coming from the real estate world since 2002 is housing affordability. So it's kind of like, well, in between appointments of the new Fed. Yeah, okay, yeah, the new one's coming out on Monday. Makes sense. Is that maybe based on some uncertainty or something like that? Dustin, welcome. The way I look at it is like, if your interest rates are 3%, you can, for a house, let's say a fixed interest rate of 3%, like they might have been a little over 3% like a couple of years ago, you're going to be able to afford a more expensive house, right? But as the interest rates start to go up, you have to start buying more inexpensive houses. So it's kind of like, it's the affordability factor, right? And I think you're going to see that with yields and bonds and all that stuff. And even if you're not an expert in bonds, like I'm not an expert at it, it's just something you're going to notice as a trend. So as interest rates are starting to go up, that's what's actually changing things. Plus, people that are borrowing money on margin and buying stocks and leveraging it that way, the only increasing the interest rate is to meet the inflation target, risk for higher inflation. Yeah, so yes. So it's all based on prime inflation. But it sounds like a lot of them want some of the inflation to happen because it hasn't been happening. People have been talking about deflation and stagflation and all that kind of stuff. So they actually want to show inflation. So from what I read today, they said there's going to probably be 3 more rate hikes this year. Some people are thinking there could be as many as 4. Nope, not at IHOP. Over at McDonald's, actually, Hugh. But 2% target. 2% target. Are you saying they're going to raise it another 2% over the course of a year? That would be quite a bit. I mean, that would affect housing prices a lot. What's happening in the housing market is really interesting because the baby boomers are staying put, and there's a lot of millennials that are living with. Thanks for all the hearts, by the way. John Newman, welcome. There's a lot of baby boomers are staying put in their house. The millennials are living at home with them. A lot of the millennials are actually not in the workforce because they're actually playing video games. There's a lot of articles out there about that if you want to look it up. It's actually a very high percentage. A lot of those should be actually home buyers right now. So what's happening is because of the really, really, really historically low inventory, the supply and demand is kind of like Bitcoin. There's only like a finite amount. It's pushing prices way up. So all the houses have multiple offers on them, and they sell really fast. It's virtually non-existent. And our economy is the economy's actually pretty fiat, isn't it? It's not really backed by anything. So actually, there's an article on Zero Hedge right now. It talks about a gold-backed cryptocurrency. I haven't dug into that article yet, and I haven't, obviously to post on here or whatever. But R&B, welcome. So yeah, there's a ton of artists in town right now. Somebody I know was doing, trying to get an Escalade yesterday. a friend getting escalated yesterday to bring Jamie Foxx around because he's going to be at the thing. Vary as well as a percentage employment increase. It's simple math. Yes, available jobs decrease. Fed's inflation goal has been 2% for a long time. Okay. Oh, because you're talking about, okay, before the arbitrage you're talking about. I'm thinking of bank interest rates. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in town right now at all these different places. I know Snoop Dogg's in town as well. But plunge is really worth something or not really. Yep, Gary's in town right now. One of my Facebook friends met him yesterday. NFL Buffalo, welcome. And what else is going on? We had, I guess, Cardi B came in town yesterday. People were paying $150 to $250 for a ticket. She showed up at 1:15 in the morning, danced on stage a little bit, lip synced a little bit, and then left. And there was no concert or whatever people thought there was going to be. And it's all over in the news. And I guess people are pretty upset about it. But a lot of other people are in town. Busta Rhymes, P. Diddy. I heard Leonardo DiCaprio just got in town recently. Obviously, Justin Timberlake's in town. And they're all down the road. A lot of them are all staying at the hotels downtown and so forth. So, unfortunately, it was about 20 below wind chill yesterday, so it wasn't very pleasant for the people that were coming in from out of town. But Cardi Bitcoin, money moves. Wasn't Cardi Bitcoin, but that's actually not a bad idea. She's at the top of the charts. Bitcoin's at the bottom of the charts. Fed funds rate influences all other rates as well as inflation. Yeah, I agree with you on that. It was really interesting, kind of related to that, was back in 2007, 2008, when the prime rate kept changing, or the adjustable rate mortgages started to change. I had a handful of properties back in those days, and man, my payments went, so now a good time. I think Bitcoin could still keep going down. I'd look into it a little bit more because it's a possibility. I had interest rates on houses that were like 8 3/8, which was terrible interest rate, but I had 8 3/8, and I had a handful of them, and they just started adjusting to like 11.75, and they might even got as high as 12%. It happened pretty quickly. So that happens on a few different properties. You go from like maybe making the rent payment to like going negative 700 on like each property times a handful of properties. That's hard to come back from. Princeton, just north of you. Oh yeah, Princeton. Okay. Yep. I used to drive up. Do you think today was based on yields or loss of confidence administration? I think it's based on the yields in the bond market, because I've been posting about that for like the last week, reading a lot of articles on it. If Fed thinks inflation will be higher than target, they will increase the interest rate by selling. So target will higher than target. Okay. Yep. I'd have to think about that one a little bit deeper. Yeah, Princeton is actually, I used to go up to Aiken to, see my mom up there and stuff. Which is me welcome. And obviously we drove through Princeton on the way up there. I think they have like the Hardee's over there and stuff off that exit right there. And there's like a gas station over there, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm kind of familiar as you're going through Princeton or whatever. Other than driving up north, I don't make it quite to there very often. I was in Maple Grove, and we live in near Elk River too as well, and Rogers. Yeah, Rob's not scoping right now. Yeah, maybe that's why we got some people on here, because Rob's not still on all the Periscope traffic with his theories on why the universe exists like it does on a simulated level, right? The fabric of the universe has computer code in it, and Rob's going to get to the bottom of that, and he's gonna teach us about that. You're scoping in a parallel universe right now. Yeah, I agree. You know who you'd really like with the whole parallel universe thing? I can't think of his name right now, but I'll tell you a little bit about him, and then I'll eventually remember it. Maybe somebody on here will remember it, but I used to study him a couple years ago, but the guy's about 80 to 85 years old, and he's been studying meditation and stuff for like 30 years or something like that, and I can't think of his name right now, but because he's able to get into a deep state in meditation and so forth, he's able to tap in to what he calls like his doppelganger in parallel universes, and he's able to download the information. Yeah, possibly. I haven't really looked into that, other than maybe like that freeze man, or that deep freeze man, or whatever his name is. I've heard about that guy too, Ice Man or something like that. Hey Dave, the podcaster, welcome. So this guy, I can't remember his name, but he's definitely in his 80s now, he puts on seminars and all that kind of stuff. I'll look it up and I'll get it to you when I can think of it. But he taps, because he's got like 35 years experience with the meditations, all that stuff. He's able to tap into parallel universes, and then he's able to download the information and become an expert at anything he wants, basically. So he's learned to be like an expert photographer, an expert painter, an expert in lots of things. And he did it all at the age of like 80 or 77 or something like that, just because he's able to, because it changes time, right? It's kind of like the Inception movie. So it's kind of like the Inception movie. If you can like theoretically spend 80 years there, and it only takes up a few hours of your time, right? Let's see, I to this also. Things he claims to be an expert at. Yeah, it was. I was fun. I actually watched the American Made movie yesterday, where he was working for the CIA and he called himself the IAC. That was a pretty decent movie. I'm staying Bitcoin, Ethereum. Okay. You know, there's articles on right now on CNBC that say Monday could be a super scary day as well for the markets. You know, but historically it looked like they're saying like out of 16 times this has happened. He's always been able to, or I mean, it's always come back, rebounded right back right away that week and the next day. Yeah, Ryan Richard, tapping into parallel universes is what this guy does. I can't think of his name right now. He seems like he's been speaking for a while. All I can really tell you that I can think of his name right now is that he's definitely, I believe, in his 80s now, and it's really interesting to listen to him. I tell you what I'll do. I'll look it up and I'll DM Rob, and then Rob can do a scope about it after he checks into it a little bit. The guy has a course and everything. He teaches it. Okay. Oh, so is that what the Economist magazine did when they did 19? I don't know. So Richard, I was talking about earlier, Rob on here is into all the different things, simulations of the world, and how we live in a video game, and hacking into string theory and all that kind of stuff. I get as far down as like the quantum mechanics and What the Bleep Do We Know movie that I'm telling him about. That's a pretty good movie there. So, but yeah, what we're basically talking about is this particular guy that can get into a deeper trance or state, tap into his doppelgangers and other universes that are, the Matrix, that are like parallel universes that are good at poetry or good at photography or whatever it is, and he's able to learn that and download that information very quickly. With the Phoenix, I did see that article cover. I've seen it in a couple articles about how they were kind of predicting the crypto thing. Baba, welcome. I have seen that brought up a couple times in the Zero Hedge articles, so looks like we've had a pretty good turnout on here so far. But yeah, I'd love to scope about some of those concepts. Love to have Rob tell me his opinion on the What the Bleep Do We Know movie. See how much he likes that, and what new ideas he gets from that as well. And Jackson, thanks for sharing on Twitter. And then other than that, I think it was Rob. Was it you that shared the one about the Mandela effect and going down the rabbit hole and all that kind of stuff? Your name here, welcome. Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is the movie, right? Is that what it is? I don't think I've seen it. Based in reality. A thought experiment. Well, what is reality? What is real, right? Is it electrical impulses in your brain? So it just keeps. Crypto's taking a dive. Just joining us now. Bitcoin got below 8,000. Pretty. But I think it's over that right now. But you've never researched the Mandela effect. Hugh, we were talking about a lot of different things on here. We've got a lot of people who've been on here before, so we're talking about a lot of different things from Rob's scope. And Bitcoin plunged below 8,000. I think it's a little over that right now. It hasn't been that low since November, and 17% down last day, and 46% from last month. So, John, you don't believe what is real? The scope isn't real, or the world's not real, or we're living in a video game, or it's all pixelated, or all thoughts. The Mandela effect is basically the idea that people remember things differently from the past, like a parallel universe, and it's almost like half the people's brains got erased and half the people didn't, and it's based on the Nelson Mandela, where people thought he died in prison, and other people. Oh yeah, that's cool that nothing is real, right, Johnny? Yep, Berenstein Bears is a popular one as well. Except it's Bernstein Bears, right? I remembered it as Berenstein Bears personally, but mumbles that knowledge under his breath. Yeah, so the Lost in Trance, welcome. See, I just mentioned trance, and Lost in Trance showed up. It's like a dream. So how weird is that? You saw that, Rob, right? I mentioned that the guy taps in through a trance like a couple minutes ago, and Lost in Trance just showed up on here. So synchronicity. I bought Bitcoin at 18,000, just sold at 9,000, but we'll wait until it gets back up. Yeah, hopefully it does come back up for sure. Okay, you're believing that I'm actually Mandela effect, glitch in the universal software. Yeah, glitch in the matrix would be another thing. Yeah. You definitely have to scope more stuff, bro. You got a lot to offer. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do learn that stuff a lot, and I don't know how to monetize it. I guess I don't have to, right? I mean, I can just scope about it just because we enjoy talking about it. But I started going down that rabbit hole quite a bit, and I probably maxed out about 5-6 years ago on some of that stuff. And you go down this like spiritual path, and I started studying paraliminals and Paul Sheely and some of that kind of stuff, and it just like you get in this different mode where you just like want to keep going down the rabbit hole to like prove out the universe or whatever, and you can use those theories to calculate crypto. Yeah, well, I'm not sure how, if I have to connect with the Oracle or Mr. Anderson, or who's going to be able to help me with that, but yeah, I was a fan of Jim Carrey growing up. And I've seen some of his stuff where he's like, nothing's real, and this and this and this. I mean, I'm kind of understanding what he's talking about. He's kind of, I think, coming off of the Eckhart Tolle type stuff. And I used to, definitely take the blue pill. I used to study Eckhart Tolle back up to probably about 10 years ago. And actually one night I was reading an old email of mine from almost 10 years ago, and I won't go on the whole story right now, but actually, it's related to what we're talking about. I actually don't even want to say it because it just sounds too crazy. But I was listening to Eckhart, because I just went through this email from a few days ago, and it was from almost 10 years ago. But I was listening to Eckhart Tolle one night, and the tape set, and I listened through it to the whole night or whatever. And I woke up at 7 or 8 in the morning, and I don't even want to tell you guys because it was that crazy. Like, I was tapped into something. I was tapped into a different frequency, and I was listening in on some conversations. I was very aware that I was listening into something. I was ready to Google it. I was conscious of it. I was in a lucid state, and it was super weird. And then I was given a name that was kind of strange. I Googled the name. It ended up on, I mean, this gets really crazy, but I don't know if there's an association, but I looked it up on YouTube and stuff, and it said it was from the God Network and the Angel Network or something like that. There was this art, and it was a soap opera from another country, and it was based on thought experiments and mind control and all that kind of stuff. And it was just from a name I Googled, from what I had in my lucid dream. So sad to see desperate people trying to make the money without any physical work. Yeah, it's interesting now about how active versus passive things are now. 100 3-pointers, how many would you make? If I shot 100 3-pointers, the stuff that I'm taking, you get that. It's the blue pill, I think, is what I've been taking. If I made 100 3-pointers, I mean, I used to be alright. I was pretty good at basketball when I was younger. I don't know how many I would make, but I'll tell you a quick story on that. We had a person in our high school that kind of came from another state, so he was just kind of kept to himself. He entered a competition. He made 97 out of 100 free throws in the competition. And he looked at Ethereum or Hyperledger Tech to see something what we were on. And we're on going through it. Actually, I went through a lot of the awakening about 7-8 years ago, where you go through the whole ego death thing and everything. It's pretty interesting, where the synchronicities start coming up, where you just freak out because the synchronicities get really strange. But this particular guy, hey Mississippi Doughboy, welcome. This particular guy that made 97 out of 100 free throws, such a good shooter. He actually would go on fast breaks in high school basketball and shoot a 3-pointer. He'd shoot a 3-pointer on a fast break. That's how good he was at three-pointers. And when he went and shot the three-pointer, you don't want Phoenix to win. You mean the Philadelphia. So he would actually go down on a fast break and shoot a three-pointer with nobody else anywhere around him instead of a layup, and the whole school would just go swish because they knew it just hit it every single time, just about every single time. Justin Peterson, welcome. Philadelphia. So yeah, it's been interesting with the whole Vikings here locally not making it. It's really bummed people out a lot and stuff. But yeah, I'll do some periscopes on some deeper subjects if you guys want to do that. I mean, it's really gotten to be a big thing online nowadays, all these videos, and some would call them conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff. But I still say that movie, What the Bleep Do We Know, is one of the better ones that I've seen. Like, I don't know if you call that a documentary, but it came out about 8 or 9 years ago, and it's pretty deep. It talks about, I don't know how to explain it because it's been a little while since I've seen it, but there's a shorter version, like an hour and 45 minutes, and then there's the extended one. It's called like Down the Rabbit Hole. It's like 2 hours and 30 minutes or something like that. But I mean, I'm sure there's got to be somebody on here that's seen that movie, right? What the Bleep Do We Know? Somebody's on here seen it, right? It is a pretty semi-well-known movie. Hanger would be experiment. Yeah, so I wouldn't say this particular movie is about conspiracy theories so much. It's just about like the human brain and how like our neurons work and how emotions work and some of that kind of stuff. That's where it gets really crazy on that kind of stuff. So other than that, I think I'll just end the scope real quick, and maybe I'll do one. The world brain, the super brain idea. Yeah, I studied that a couple years ago a little bit. Ron, you must have Scandinavian roots, lots of Swedish immigrants coming to Minnesota. Yeah, Irish as well. My last name is Orr, so a lot of them are Irish. I don't think the Earth is flat personally, but I know a lot of people do. I don't know how far to go down the whole rabbit hole and all this stuff. I mean, the giant brain thing, I thought was a pretty interesting thing. I've experienced a lot of precognition type stuff. The synchronicity stuff, I've experienced a lot of that stuff. If people aren't really into the synchronicities, they don't study it that much. Me telling some examples or stories probably don't mean that much. I don't know how many of you have experienced the 11/11 thing. That started about 9 or 10 years ago for me. The 11/11 thing. Lots of that kind of stuff. Yeah, it could be. As a kid, the UFO stuff would have been interesting to me. I unless I see it now, it's kind of hard. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos. The synchronicity thing. There was actually, I can't think of the guy's name, but he came out with a video like 35 years ago, and he was talking about it, and it was super bizarre. The other one too is Rob. You should study Greg Braden if you haven't studied him, and study the Divine Matrix. That's like a 3-4 hour video. That one's super good as well. There's a whole idea, like I've heard what Bruce Lipton as well gets pretty crazy. If you study that stuff. Tomorrow, some guy launching himself into space with a homemade rocket to prove Earth is flat. Yeah, I think I heard about that. Yeah, I think I heard about that. I don't know about the Antarctica Treaty. I would need to see the alien stuff, I guess, to be, at this point, it's been going on for so long now, it's like I need more proof on it, but I mean, I'm open to something like that. A lot of the conspiracy theory stuff, I don't get into that much, because, like, hey, Coin Show, because some of it is a conspiracy theory, but some of it isn't. It's like, okay, Antarctica Treaty. So, like, the 9/11 thing, yeah, something happened. Somebody was involved. There was definitely some stuff that happened with that. But it's like, how deep do we go into the whole thing with all the controlled demolition and all that stuff? And how much of it was graphics and all that kind of stuff? I mean, the whole, like, I remember there was a time 10 years ago I was telling my friends about the Fed and, like, how all the elites own all the money and all that kind of stuff, all the stuff we talk about today. I mean, I was telling them about that 10 years ago, you know. I mean, it's like, it's not really a conspiracy theory today. I mean, it's kind of known as mainstream now. I was talking about the dollar crash 10 years ago with them showing the Trumpet website and all that was talking about all the time. Yeah, how the Fed isn't federal. Or just like the fractional banking system and stuff, where it's just like, you know, it's set up in such a way where, like, it obviously wouldn't work if there's a run on the bank, but it's set up in such a way that that's probably not going to ever happen because they're just going to keep trusting the system and keep trusting the bank. Yeah, like a conspiracy. Yeah, I would say so. There's enough data out there to make that happen. I mean, they really just got to keep confidence in the system is really all they do, and then there's no run on the bank. As time persists, conspiracy becomes accepted. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that's kind of what I feel like has kind of happened with a lot of different stuff, you know. Like, I don't study the chemtrail things that much. I don't know how deep I want to get into that, or like they're trying to give people like the flu with flu shots or something. I don't know how much I get into that stuff, but it was set up to prevent runs on the banks. Yeah, good point. Because they didn't have runs on the bank when the 2008 thing happened, when that whole thing crashed, right? They didn't have runs on the bank for that. They were able to adjust accordingly. You start looking into, like, my brother and I have talked about like the IMF and some of that kind of stuff, and that got pretty deep, what he was talking about on that. I can't think about it right at this moment. I'd have to study it a little bit more, but where's the line between question and conspiracy? I don't know. That's a good point. I mean, the more and more you realize that the people at the top, the elites, and the capitalism and money moves a lot of things, you just realize that it's probably not a conspiracy, a lot of this stuff. It's just, I mean, yeah, the people at the top control things. That's just how it is. And what are we going to do about it? I haven't studied the deep state enough. No, I mean, I think the flat earth one's pretty far-fetched in my opinion. But, I don't know. People are trying to explain as much as they can with as much detail to make it sound like something. But, the North Koreans stole your 2 Bitcoins? That's not good. Hey, Burn Pile, welcome. Good to see you on here. But, yeah, I mean, if conspiracy is computed, then what is acceptance? You know, I don't know what acceptance is. To me, it's almost like what doesn't surprise people anymore? What can you post about and like not get in trouble about? You know, people could post stuff about 9/11 right now and do periscopes all day long on it, and they're not going to get arrested, right? I mean, it's like there's some kind of acceptance, I think, to it. Yeah, there's no duality term for it. Yeah, believe everything, yet trust nothing. I mean, to me, I think we're just looking for that deeper truth. And for me, it was like it probably got down to the simulation level of the simulated universe, and how there's aliens or somebody out there that has higher processing power beyond what we understand. Conspiracies happen all the time. Yeah, for sure. There's people at the top that are definitely involved. You know what's interesting too is I don't know if you guys watch some of the Twilight Zones. I like the Twilight Zones a lot, and I just started on Netflix watching them again, and I'm 24 episodes in, and it's really interesting. Yeah, and I don't get super deep into the reptilians. It's kind of an interesting subject. I do watch David Icke a little bit as well, but the Twilight Zones are really interesting. They were talking about like they had like women robots and stuff as a companion on a 1959 Twilight Zone or 1960 Twilight Zone. It was like the 8th Twilight Zone ever. And just to think that was 60 to 70 years ago. The other thing that's really been boggling my mind too, watching these Twilight Zones from 1959, 1960, is it's like, it doesn't feel very sci-fi, but it must have been so... The Great Void, I don't think so. But it's like, it must have been so sci-fi back then, the way they were doing it and stuff, because they're always going to other planets millions of miles away, and hey, these look like humans on other planets. Why is Ethereum crashing? I forget what I read about the Ethereum, but I'm sure it's related to Bitcoin thing as well. It's 2 world wars will be. I can tell you what the next 2 world wars will be. Oh, good night to you, Paul. no, it was really interesting. I don't know if you caught this the other day, Rob, but I I forget what it was, but it was probably like the 15th, or no, it was probably like the 21st episode of the Twilight Zone. I forget the name of it. It's called like the Mirror Image or something like that. But there's a lady on there that was supposed to be 25 on the episode, and she was freaking out because there was a doppelganger, and there was her from a parallel universe that was doing everything that she was doing. So she was getting freaked out, and she didn't understand what was going on. I'm like, they're talking about parallel universes in that 1960s Twilight Zone? I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm like, I didn't realize that's been around like 60 years, right? So when you look back at some of that stuff that they had on there, that would have seemed like really, the doppelganger thing is what this guy talks about that I was telling you about earlier. He brings up the doppelganger a lot. That's kind of where I started to hear that term from. This as well, the cartoons. Okay, yeah. Yeah, he brings it up all the time. So I just, if you just meditation doppelganger, you'd probably find the guy. But look at the wing and think about Bigfoot. Yeah, that's one of the better Twilight Zones. That particular one. Here's what's really interesting too is I feel like I was always like a fan of Twilight Zone growing up, and like I watched some of the marathons, like part of them and stuff. And I figured I was a bigger fan than a lot of people. I pulled it up on Netflix, and I'm telling you, I got through that first 22 episodes, and I remember one of them, maybe. I think there's like almost like 160 episodes. I remember like one of them, maybe one and a half, two of them, or something like that. And I couldn't believe it. Yeah, you're liking the BTC crash, you're liking Bitcoin crash because you're, welcome back, Johnny Boy, because you're buying it on the dip. So this is really low. Distance well done. So yeah, we're getting a lot of people on here. I think we're going to need another scope to talk about some of the deeper stuff down the rabbit hole. And instead of having the wrong headline here is Bitcoin. India banned digital coins. I saw another person say that they didn't actually ban them. But you want to buy at the bottom? What is the bottom though? God. I ask God, is it worth investing now that the price went down? I don't know. I think people are still going to invest in other stuff now. I mean, a lot of people are in selling mode, even in the stock market. The Dream Link, I think. I missed that part. The Dream Link, isn't it odd? I hope it goes, yeah, we'll go below 5,000. That's definitely a dip. Good taking tonight. Appreciate it. Yeah, good talking to you as well. All about the altcoins. Yeah, never stop a good flow. That's accept the idea of the universe is that it's flat. That the accepted idea of the universe is that it's flat. Uber love welcome. The accepted idea of the universe is flat. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that, but yeah, I haven't been studying the IOTA in a while or the EOS. If it went below 1,000, that'd be pretty crazy if it did that. But I think I'm going to take a short break, and then we are all avatars controlled by our doppelganger in the world we enter when we dream. We all are avatars controlled by our doppelganger. And that's an interesting theory. I mean, I was watching somebody do a Facebook Live yesterday with an avatar, and he was dancing and stuff, and I was like, wow, we've come a long ways. Bitcoin is only backed by computer code, not a sound investment. Yeah, that's fair to say. It's made with quantum foam. Quantum foam, nice. Yeah, so you definitely need to watch what the Bleep doing now. You definitely got to see the double slit experiment and some of that stuff, or brain in a jar, kind of like, have you ever seen the Steve Martin movie with the brain in the jar? And then what was the other thing too? The double slit experiment, and then also the Schrodinger's cat as well. That gets pretty deep as well. So I'm sure you've studied a lot of that stuff, Rob. But yeah, let me come back on maybe in a little bit, maybe under a different topic than the Bitcoin thing. And it was good to see you guys.